So we might try an arrangement like this, where we have a dial with the time, telling one when to wind, and then a touch of a button on the back, we have more information, and tourbillon movement, so that we can amuse ourselves watching it rotate in those idle moments when we're sitting listening to other people talking at us.
So during my time working with George, it's very evident that he always liked to amuse people. This spring case is the prime example of that.
People are curious to see what the master watchmaker was wearing.
He was hardly ever satisfied with the outcome of a watch. The fact that George was apparently satisfied to have it on his own wrist for many years should never be undervalued or dismissed.
George was predominantly known for making pocket watches, but towards the end of his career he made 2 wristwatches, and these were quite groundbreaking, not only on a technical level but on a scale level. For a man to use the Daniels method, which is where one man designs and conceives and then constructs the complete watch in its entirety from scratch, is quite staggering really. The first one was done in 1991, and then the second one was done in 1992 and is the Spring Case Tourbillon wristwatch. Wristwatches are incredibly demanding pieces to make, particularly when you consider that the watch was designed, conceived and actually built by one man sitting alone in his workshop.
George Daniels made 27 pocket watches in his lifetime and 2 wristwatches. This is one of the wristwatches that he owned personally and he wore. Seeing the watch for the first time was, looking at a grail for the first time. Well, I think first by the maker and by the owner. I think that's something that is very rare. I'd never seen a Breguet that was made by Breguet for himself. Nothing made for George Daniels by George Daniels. Well, it's a typical George Daniels watch in the sense that it's kind of a micro version of one of his pocket watch. You have the face, and the face shows the time and the seconds. And then you have on the other side of the watch a second dial, and that dial shows the day of the week and the day of the month. And in the middle of it, you have a tourbillon, like on many of George Daniels' pocket watches. And there is a little mechanism in the case that springs the dial and makes it rotate so you can enjoy each side of the dial while wearing the watch.
He really the most important watchmaker, I think, of the 20th century. When he did the watch, he really do something who bring something better. And I think the tourbillon, he really bring something on the watch in terms of accuracy, in terms of chronometry, particularly on the pocket watches. And this is why he used it. What make it also more important, before we don't have the machine we use today, so we're using different machine was a little more complex. You have to be really good watchmaker, I think, to being able to realize a tourbillon. And it was thin, and so it was a little more complex and different challenges. So I think he wanted to show also he can do it. He set up a workshop, and on this workshop he did everything. So he's a really dream for a watchmaker to do what you want, to have this freedom.
Can you imagine Pablo Picasso, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to call George Daniels the Pablo Picasso of 20th century artisanal watchmaking, who spends an incredible amount of time making a masterpiece and then chooses this to be the centerpiece of his own living room or even bedroom. That leads me to some sort of conclusion that what the George Daniels Spring Case Tourbillon wristwatch means to the market can be compared as if the market saw the Pablo Picasso massive oil on canvas that Pablo did for him personally for his own home.
I try to embody new principles, mechanical principles, to improve their timekeeping. And I want each one of my watches to advance the science of horology as well as to be an original work of art.